The holographic display showed a simple mission. Commander Vexthor looked at the glowing map with his 4 eyes. He was a Krillian warrior with dark scales that had seen many battles. The job seemed easy. Too easy, maybe. Break into a human research base. Steal their data files. Get out fast, his partner Kes said. She was reading the mission details on her tablet. They are paying us a lot of money for this. Vexthor clicked his jaw. He had fought many aliens in his 30 years as a mercenary. He had faced the big Sargonian fighters. He had battled the insect-like Zenthari soldiers. He had even survived against the crystal warriors from Prax 7. But he had never fought humans before. Humans were new to space. They only got faster than light ships 30 years ago. Most aliens thought humans were weak. Small bodies. No natural armor. No claws or poison. Just pink skin and soft flesh. Why pay so much for an easy job? Vexthor asked. Kes shrugged her shoulders. Maybe the data is very important to them. Vexthor accepted the contract. He picked 20 of his best warriors. They were all experienced fighters with good armor and strong weapons. This would be a quick mission. Far away on Earth, Colonel Jake Morrison drank his coffee. He watched the spy cameras. The mercenaries had taken the bait. They are coming to New Dakota, said Lieutenant Amy Foster. She worked with intelligence. Should we tell our soldiers there? No, Morrison said with a small smile. Captain Ryan Blake is already waiting for them. Let's see what happens. The message about the research base was fake. Morrison's team had leaked it on purpose. The base on New Dakota was actually a training camp for human special forces. Captain Blake and his team had been waiting for mercenaries to try something stupid. 3 days later, Vexthor's ship landed on New Dakota. The planet was dark. Only one moon gave weak light. His 20 warriors jumped out of the ship. They wore powered armor that made them strong and protected them from bullets. My sensors show only 6 people in the whole building, Kes said. She was checking her computer. This will be very easy. I don't like it, Vexthor said. His warrior instincts told him something was wrong. They broke through the outer wall. It was too easy. No alarms, no guards, no resistance. The building's lights were dim. Their helmets let them see in the dark with heat vision. Vexthor split his team into 3 groups. Each group would attack the central room from a different direction. It was a standard military tactic. Then all the lights went out. Switch to night vision, Vexthor ordered. His helmet changed modes. But something strange happened. His heat sensors showed nothing. The 6 people had disappeared. There were no warm bodies anywhere. The first shot came from nowhere. Kes made a choking sound. Her shield sparked and died. A second bullet hit her in the chest. She fell down dead. Vexthor saw nothing. No enemy, no heat signature. Just darkness and death. We are under attack. Find them, Vexthor shouted into his radio. But his warriors were already dying. The mercenaries fired their plasma weapons everywhere. The bright flashes lit up the hallways for a second. But there was nothing to shoot at. No enemies, no targets, just empty corridors and shadows that moved like living things. Vexthor heard his team screaming on the radio. One by one, their voices went silent. Someone was killing them with perfect accuracy. The enemy never missed. Every shot found a weak spot in their armor. Vexthor turned on his personal shield to maximum power. He ran toward the exit. Behind him, he could hear more warriors dying. Out of 20 soldiers, only 5 were still alive. They all ran toward the ship. The ship's pilot started the engines before they reached it. He was scared and wanted to leave fast. Then Vexthor saw him. A human stood in the open courtyard. He wore no armor, just dark clothes and face paint. He held a simple rifle. The man looked calm, not afraid at all. He just stood there and looked at Vexthor. The human raised one hand. He waved. Then the ground exploded. Bombs hidden under the ship went off. The blast tore through the landing gear and engines. The ship crashed back down with a terrible sound of breaking metal. Fire spread across the hull. Vexthor's shield broke when he hit the ground hard. He rolled and waited for a bullet to kill him. But it didn't come. Instead, all the lights turned on. Bright lights everywhere. Vexthor could see humans coming out from every building. There were dozens of them, not 6. His sensors had been wrong. The humans had been hiding the whole time. Stop fighting, a voice said in perfect Galactic Standard language. The human with the rifle walked closer. He lowered his weapon. Your team is dead. Your ship is destroyed, but you don't have to die today. Vexthor's computer still showed no heat from the humans. Somehow they had hidden their body temperature. His people had fought wars for 3,000 years. He had never seen technology like this. "What are you?" Vexthor asked. His voice was rough with shock. The human smiled, but his eyes stayed cold. "We are people who learned to hunt by hunting each other. My name is Captain Ryan Blake. You are going to send a message back to your mercenary guild. Tell them exactly what happened here." "They will send armies to kill you," Vexthor said. "Good," Blake answered. "We will be ready." 2 other humans came and helped Vexthor stand up. They took him to a medical room. A human doctor cleaned his wounds and fixed his broken arm. They were being kind to him. This confused Vexthor even more. Enemies should not help the warriors they defeat. Later, Colonel Morrison came to talk with Vexthor. The human brought 2 cups of hot coffee. "You fought well," Morrison said. "But you never had a chance. Do you know why?" Vexthor said nothing. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years," Morrison explained. "Every weapon we made was designed to kill other humans. Every tactic we learned came from fighting enemies who think like us. When we fight aliens, it's almost too easy. You are predictable because you never had to fight something as dangerous as another human." Morrison drank his coffee. Captain Blake's team was never in danger. "You walked into a trap made by people who spent centuries perfecting the art of the ambush. We learned to be invisible because anything less meant death. You want to scare the mercenary guilds," Vexthor said slowly. "We want them to understand that attacking human military targets is suicide," Morrison corrected. "You will go back and tell them what happened. Show them your recordings. Explain how 20 elite warriors died without seeing their killers even once." Blake came in with a small data chip. He threw it on the table. "This has everything," Blake said. "Every position we used. Every weapon. Every tactic. I even included a training manual." Vexthor stared at the chip. "Why tell us your secrets?" Blake's smile was sharp like a knife. "Because even knowing how we did it, you still can't beat us. We learned these skills fighting people in mountains, jungles, and cities. We learned to be ghosts. Now we're teaching the galaxy not to mess with us." Vexthor understood. The humans were not just trying to win one fight. They were sending a message to every mercenary guild in space. Attack human military bases and die. It was that simple. A week later, Vexthor stood in front of the Mercenary Guild Council. He showed them the video recordings from New Dakota. The council members watched in silence as 20 warriors died in the darkness. "They were invisible to all our sensors," Vexthor explained. "They used stealth suits and old hunting skills. Humans have been developing this technology since before they left their planet. They train their soldiers to think like both hunter and prey at the same time." "Can we learn their methods?" one council member asked. Vexthor put in the data chip Blake had given him. The screen showed detailed information about human tactics. "This is everything they used against us. The human captain gave it to me freely. Then we can fight back," the counselor said with hope. "Can we?" Vexthor asked. "Look at their training methods. They teach every soldier to think independently. They practice hundreds of different tactics. They train to fight with high technology or with rocks and sticks. They adapt to any situation." He showed videos of human wars throughout their history. Humans fighting humans in every kind of terrain. Wars that lasted years. Millions of deaths. Every lesson written in blood. "They fought for resources, land, religion, and politics," Vexthor continued. "They bombed each other from the sky. They killed each other in trenches. They learned to murder silently in the dark. And they remembered every single lesson." The council room was very quiet. "I recommend we blacklist all contracts involving human military targets," Vexthor said officially. "We lost 20 warriors against 6 humans. 6. This was just a training exercise for them. If we keep accepting these jobs, our reputation will be destroyed. No warrior will work for us." The young warriors in the council protested. They called Vexthor a coward. But the older council members understood. They had seen the video. They had heard the analysis. The vote passed. The Mercenary Guild would refuse all contracts against human military forces. Within days, the video spread to every mercenary network in the galaxy. Other guilds watched and made the same decision. The humans had sent their message clearly, but not everyone was scared. The Sargonian horde saw the video and laughed. The Zenthari collective studied it with interest. The Praxian war temples watched and felt challenged. The message arrived on every human military channel at the same time. A deep voice spoke in perfect English through a translation program. I am War Chief Thraka of the Sargonian Horde. We have seen the videos from New Dakota. We have heard the mercenaries talk about their fear. The Horde does not fear anything. We challenge the human warriors to honorable combat. Send your best fighters to the moon of Rigel 7. We will meet in 30 days. Prove that humans deserve respect, or be shown as cowards who only hide in shadows. Admiral Lisa Hayes watched the message 3 times in the military. Command center on Earth around the big table sat generals and representatives from every special operations unit. It's a trap, General Paul Martinez said. His voice was firm. They want us to fight in the open where they can use their strength and numbers. It's not a trap, Colonel Morrison disagreed. It's exactly what they said. A challenge. The Sargonians care about strength and honor more than anything. They want to test us. Then we say no, Martinez replied. We don't need to prove anything to aliens who think war is a game. Actually, sir, we do, Captain Blake said from the back of the room. Everyone looked at him. The mercenary guilds were easy to scare. They fight for money, but warrior cultures like the Sargonians are different. They only respect strength. If we refuse, we look weak. If we accept and fight smart, we can earn something better than fear. What's that? Admiral Hayes asked. Respect. Maybe even friendship later, Blake said. The Sargonians are brutal, but they keep their word. They don't break treaties. If we prove ourselves in battle, they become allies instead of enemies. How many soldiers would you need? Hayes asked quietly. Blake smiled. Just my team, ma'am. 12 people. 12 against a Horde war party? Martinez looked shocked. Our intelligence says they will send at least 100 warriors. Maybe more. Then we will need to be clever, Blake said. The generals argued for another hour, but Admiral Hayes made the final decision. Blake would go to Rigel 7 with his special operations team. The pride of humanity would rest on 12 soldiers. The moon of Rigel 7 was a dead rock with almost no air and dangerous terrain. Old ruins covered the surface from a civilization that died long ago. Nobody owned it. Perfect for a challenge fight. Staff Sergeant Kyle Jensen checked his rifle for the 10th time as their ship went down. Next to him, Sergeant Maria Santos worked on her explosives kit with calm hands. Are you nervous? Jensen asked. Santos didn't look up. I've been shot at by professionals. These guys fight with honor. That makes them predictable. Predictable is good, Corporal Alex Turner said from across the bay. Predictable means we can make plans. Captain Blake stood at the front of the ship watching the moon get closer. His team was the best Earth had. 12 men and women from every branch of Special Forces. Rangers, SEALs, Delta Force, Marine Raiders. Each one had survived training programs designed to break normal soldiers. Remember the mission, Blake said quietly. We're not here to kill every Sargonian. We're here to make a point. Show them that humans can fight their way and still win. The ship landed in a canyon near the combat zone. The Sargonians had arrived 3 days earlier. They set up a camp in the old city ruins. Spy drones showed at least 150 warriors. Each one stood over 7 feet tall with huge muscles and weapons made for their size. They're not wearing much armor, Lieutenant Ben Harris said while studying the drone video. That's arrogance. Or confidence, Blake corrected. They're used to winning through physical power. Let's teach them something new. The rules were simple. Both sides would enter the ruins at sunrise. The battle would continue until one side surrendered or was eliminated. No bombs from space. No chemical weapons. No backup forces. Just soldiers and their skills. As the sun rose over Rigel 7, War Chief Thraka stood in front of his assembled horde. The Sargonians looked magnificent in the dawn light. Their red skin was marked with ritual scars. Their tusks were filed to sharp points. Today we face the humans, Thraka roared. His warriors howled in response. They hide in shadows and claim to be mighty. We will show them the power of true warriors. We will crush them in honorable combat. The horde began moving into the ruins. Their weapons were raised high. War cries echoed off the ancient stone walls. They never saw the first trap. The street exploded under the lead squad. Not from bombs, but from stone walls that collapsed on purpose. 12 Sargonians fell into a pit full of broken rocks. Not deadly, but enough to take them out of the fight. Contact! A horde warrior shouted. They charged toward where they saw movement. Another explosion. This time a building collapsed inward, burying a whole platoon. Still no gunshots. They're using the terrain against us, Thraka realized. His tactical mind was racing. Spread out. Don't group together. But spreading out was exactly what Blake wanted. The first shots came from impossible distances. Sniper fire from a kilometer away, so accurate that bullets hit Sargonian weapons and broke them without killing the warriors. Soldiers raised their rifles to shoot back only to have them shot out of their hands. They're not trying to kill us, one of Thraka's officers said. He sounded confused. They're making a point, Thraka growled. They want us to know they could kill us, but choose not to. He was right. Blake had given specific orders. Disable, don't kill. Wound if necessary. Make every Sargonian understand they were alive because humans chose to let them live. The battle became a nightmare for the Horde. They were stronger and more numerous. They were experienced warriors. But the humans were like ghosts, appearing just long enough to attack before vanishing into the ruins. Booby traps hurt dozens more warriors. Sniper fire kept the rest pinned down and unable to move. When Sargonians tried to charge human positions, they got funneled into kill zones. Flashbangs and smoke grenades turned their strength into a weakness in tight spaces. Sergeant Santos watched through her rifle scope as 20 Sargonians tried to flank their position. She triggered the demo charges she had placed the night before. The old building's walls collapsed around the warriors, not on them. It created an instant maze. Maze deployed, she reported calmly. They'll be lost for at least 20 minutes. Good, Blake replied from his position. Let them get frustrated. The battle went on for 6 hours. Not a single human had been seen clearly. Not one human had been hurt. But the Sargonian horde had been taken apart piece by piece. Their weapons were destroyed. Their warriors were injured or trapped. As the sun began to set, War Chief Thraka found himself alone in a plaza. He was surrounded by the ruins of his pride. Of his 150 warriors, maybe 30 could still fight. And even they were beaten down and demoralized. That's when Captain Blake stepped into the open. He was alone. His rifle was on his back. His hands were empty and visible. Behind him, the ruins were silent. You fought well, Blake called out in the Sargonian language. Your warriors are brave and strong. Thraka's remaining soldiers moved to surround the human. But their war chief raised a hand to stop them. You have not fought us at all, Thraka said. His voice was heavy with anger and respect mixed together. You have hunted us like animals. We fought you exactly as we always fight, Blake corrected. With every advantage we could create, using terrain, tactics, and technology. That's what war is, War Chief. Not honor, not glory. War is about winning, and humans are very good at winning. Then why did you not kill us? Thraka demanded. You could have. Your snipers had clear shots all day. Blake smiled. Because we're not trying to make enemies. We're trying to earn respect. The mercenary guilds fear us now. But you, War Chief? I think you understand us better than most aliens do. Thraka was silent for a long moment. He studied the small human who had orchestrated his horde's defeat without killing a single warrior unnecessarily. You wish to make allies of the horde, he said slowly. I wish to show you that humans are worth knowing, Blake replied. We're not the strongest species in the galaxy. We're not the fastest or the toughest, but we're survivors. And we learn from everything. We spent our entire history fighting each other because we had no one else to fight. Now that we're among the stars, we'd prefer to find friends instead of making more enemies. Thraka looked at his battered warriors, then back at the human. A decision formed in his mind. The horde yield, he said formally. He placed his weapon on the ground. The humans have proven their worth. From the ruins, Blake's team emerged one by one. 12 soldiers who had defeated 150 without losing a single person. You fight without honor, Thraka said. But there was no judgment in his voice. Only curiosity. We fight to win, Blake corrected. And if we have to do dishonorable things to protect our people, we'll do them without hesitation. But we'd rather fight beside you than against you. The war chief's laugh was like thunder. Your species is insane. I respect that. Perhaps humans and Sargonians are not so different. We both do whatever is necessary. That night, Blake and Thraka shared a meal in the ruins. Their medics took care of the wounded Sargonians. The human special forces team had brought medical supplies. This surprised the horde warriors. Enemies don't usually heal the people they defeat. But humans were full of surprises. The next day, Thraka sent a message to all Sargonian warbands. 3 weeks later, Blake stood on a training station in neutral space. Around him, his team prepared their weapons. But these were not rifles or grenades. They carried knives and short swords, close combat weapons. The Praxians had been very specific in their challenge. No firearms, no explosives, no modern technology beyond basic protective gear, just bladed weapons and hand-to-hand combat techniques. A test of pure skill. Staff Sergeant Kyle Jensen sharpened his combat knife for the last time. "You know they're better than us with blades, right?" he said to nobody in particular. Sergeant Maria Santos strapped a short sword to her belt. "Better technique, yes. But we're not here to out-technique them. We're here to win." "There's a difference?" Corporal Alex Turner asked. "Big difference," Santos replied. "Technique is about doing things the right way. Winning is about going home alive." Captain Blake watched his team gear up. Each soldier had trained in close-quarters combat. They knew how to use knives and fight hand-to-hand. But none of them were masters. Not like the Praxians. The Praxians were something else entirely. Their species had evolved as crystalline beings. Hard skin that was difficult to cut, natural strength that was impressive but not overwhelming. But what made them special was their dedication to the blade. Every Praxian warrior trained from age 5. They practiced sword forms for hours every day. Their techniques had been refined over 10,000 years. A Praxian blade master could cut a falling leaf in half before it touched the ground. High Blade Ixtal led 12 of his finest warriors into the training station's combat arena. They moved with grace that was almost like a dance. Each step was perfect. Each motion was economical and precise. The arena was a large circular room with high ceilings. Neutral ground, no traps, no hiding places. Just open space where skill would determine the winner. The rules were simple. 12 against 12. Fight until one side yields or is eliminated. Protective gear would prevent death but not pain or injury. Blake looked at his team. "Remember what we talked about. They expect a certain kind of fight. Don't give it to them." The bell rang. The Praxians advanced in perfect formation. Their blades caught the light. Their movements were beautiful and deadly. Each warrior was a master of their craft. Then they met Blake's team. The humans fought like animals. Where Praxians would parry with elegant precision, humans would block with one hand and punch with the other. When Praxians would step back to reset their stance, humans would press forward with aggression. Jensen faced a Praxian whose sword technique was flawless. Every cut was perfect. Every defense was textbook. The alien was clearly more skilled. So Jensen stopped trying to be skilled. He blocked a sword strike with his knife, not elegantly, but effectively. Then he kicked the Praxian in the knee. When the warrior stumbled, Jensen tackled him to the ground. The fight stopped being about swords and became about grappling and ground fighting. The Praxian had trained for 10,000 years in sword combat. He had trained maybe a few hundred hours in ground fighting. Jensen had trained thousands of hours in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and dirty fighting. On the ground, technique mattered less than willingness to do whatever worked. Santos faced a Praxian who was faster than her. Every time she attacked, the alien's blade was already there to block. So Santos changed tactics. She threw her knife at the Praxian's face. Not to kill, just to distract. The Praxian's blade came up automatically to deflect. In that split second, Santos closed the distance. She grabbed the alien's sword arm and broke it at the elbow with a sharp twist. When the Praxian cried out in pain, Santos swept his legs and put him on the ground. "Yield," she said calmly. The Praxian yielded. Across the arena, the pattern repeated. Human soldiers who were outmatched in pure blade skill found other ways to win. They used elbows, knees, headbutts. They grabbed and grappled. They fought dirty and aggressive. High Blade Ixtal found himself facing Captain Blake. The human was competent with his combat knife, but clearly not a master. Ixtal should have won easily within 30 seconds. But Blake didn't fight like a duelist. He fought like someone who wanted to survive at any cost. When Ixtal executed a perfect counter that should have ended the bout, Blake took the hit on his shoulder armor. The blow hurt but didn't disable him, and it got him inside the Praxian's guard where his longer blade was less useful. Blake brought his knife up under Ixtal's chin. The blade stopped just short of cutting. "Yield," Blake said quietly. Ixtal looked into the human's eyes. He saw something that made his crystalline blood run cold. This wasn't a warrior seeking glory or testing his skills. This was a killer who would do absolutely anything to win. "I yield," Ixtal said formally. The battle ended within 5 minutes. Not because the Praxians weren't skilled. They were extraordinary. But the humans fought with a combination of dirty tricks, improvisation, and pure aggressive brutality that technical superiority couldn't overcome. After the match, medics attended to both sides. The Praxians had injuries they weren't used to. Broken bones, torn ligaments, bruises and contusions from being thrown to the ground. The humans had cuts and stab wounds from the Praxian blades. But they'd won. Highblade Ixtal approached Blake as a medic wrapped his broken arm. "You did not fight with honor," the Praxian said. It wasn't quite an accusation. "No," Blake agreed simply. "We fought to win. Your people trained for perfection. My people trained for survival. In a real battle, perfection dies to pragmatism every single time. You used techniques that were not in the agreed parameters," Ixtal continued. "We agreed to blade combat." "We used close-quarters combat techniques," Blake corrected. "You assumed that meant formal sword fighting. We assumed it meant anything that happens when you're close enough to touch your enemy. That's the difference between a martial art and a combative system. One is about perfection and beauty. The other is about going home alive." Ixtal thought about this. His culture had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of the blade. They had forms and techniques that were flawless, but they had forgotten that real combat wasn't about forms. It was about survival. "Your species has no concept of honorable combat?" Ixtal asked. "Our species has thousands of concepts of honorable combat," Blake replied. "Every culture on Earth has different ideas about what honor means in a fight. Samurai had their Bushido code, knights had their chivalry, Spartans had their warrior culture. But when survival is on the line, we abandon all of it. Honor is a luxury. Survival is a necessity." Blake sat down next to the Praxian. "Let me tell you about human history. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We developed hundreds of martial arts. Some focused on beauty and technique. Some focused on killing efficiency. Want to know which ones survived?" "The efficient ones," Ixtal said slowly. "Exactly. The martial arts that worked in real combat survived. The ones that were too focused on beauty and form died out. We learned that lesson over and over across centuries. When your life is on the line, pretty techniques mean nothing. What matters is what works." The High Blade was silent for a long moment. Then he did something unprecedented in Praxian culture. He bowed to Blake. "The war temples will not accept contracts against human military targets," Ixtal said formally. "You have shown us that our perfection is incomplete. We have trained for 10,000 years to fight warriors. You have trained to fight anyone, anywhere, with anything available." "Or nothing," Blake added. "That's the most important lesson. We learn to win even when we have nothing but our will to survive." Ixtal stood. "I would like to learn your methods. Not to replace our techniques, but to complete them." Blake smiled. "I'd be happy to teach you, but I warn you, our methods are brutal. They're not pretty. They won't look good in demonstrations. But they work," Ixtal said. "Yes, they work." The recording of the Praxian match spread across the galaxy like wildfire. 3 major warrior cultures had now been humbled by human special forces: the mercenary guilds, the Sargonian horde, the Praxian war temples. But the message was getting more complex. Humans didn't just win through stealth or technology. They won because they were willing to abandon every rule, every tradition, every concept of fairness to achieve victory. In military academies across dozens of worlds, new doctrines were being written. Human military targets were classified as extreme risk, not because humans were unbeatable, but because fighting them required throwing out every conventional assumption about combat. On Earth, Admiral Hayes called Blake to her office. "You did it," she said. "The major warrior cultures are all backing off. Mercenary activity in human space has dropped by 80%. "And the species who don't rely on mercenaries?" Blake asked. Hayes' expression became serious. "The Zenthari Collective is mobilizing. Intelligence suggests they're planning to probe our outer colonies. They want to see how we fight when it's not a controlled test. The Zenthari were different from anyone humans had faced so far. They were a hive mind, thousands of individuals but one consciousness. Every soldier was connected to their queen mind through biological neural networks. "How do you fight an enemy that thinks as one?" Blake asked. "That's what they're asking about us," Hayes replied. "How do you fight an enemy where every soldier thinks independently?" They've studied the Zenthari assault on New Canaan was supposed to be simple. Queen Mind Tessara had planned it carefully. The target was a small farming colony far from Earth's core systems. Only 300 human Marines protected it. The objective was to test human defensive capabilities and see how quickly they could respond. 5,000 Zenthari warriors came down from orbit in perfect formation. Their ships moved like they were controlled by one pilot because, in a way, they were. Every soldier, every pilot, every tactical decision flowed through the Queen Mind's biological network. The colony had a garrison of 300 Marines, but it also had one special operations team conducting training exercises. Captain Blake stood on the command center roof watching the alien ships approach. Next to him, Lieutenant Harris checked his rifle one more time. 300 Marines and 12 of us against 5,000 Zenthari, Harris said. We're outnumbered 16 to 1. Worse than that, Blake replied. They're hive-minded. Perfect coordination. No communication delays. No confusion. No mistakes. It's like fighting one enemy with 5,000 bodies. So what's the plan? Blake smiled. We make the Queen Mind regret bringing her children here. The Zenthari landing was perfect. Troops deployed in optimal patterns. They established security perimeters and began advancing toward the colony's main settlement with mechanical efficiency. No wasted movement. No hesitation. Then the first bomb went off. It wasn't a military explosive. It was a fertilizer bomb made from materials found on the farming colony. Hidden in a barn the Zenthari were using for cover. The explosion killed 30 warriors instantly. Through the neural network, Queen Mind Tessera felt each death like a physical blow. But more disturbing was the realization. The humans had predicted where her forces would take cover before they'd even landed. Adapt formation, she commanded through the network. Her warriors shifted to more dispersed patterns. That's when the snipers opened fire. Staff Sergeant Jensen lay in a grain silo 2 kilometers from the landing zone. Sergeant Santos worked as his spotter next to him. Wind is steady. 4 knots from the northwest, Santos said quietly. Range is 2,200 meters. Target is the one with the glowing marks on its head. That's a field coordinator, Jensen said, recognizing the bioluminescent patterns. In a hive mind, some warriors served as signal boosters for the Queen Mind's control. Kill them and the network's efficiency in that area dropped. Jensen squeezed the trigger. The bullet crossed 2 kilometers in less than 2 seconds. The Zenthari field coordinator's head exploded. The effect on the Zenthari force was immediate. Warriors in that sector suddenly had to rely on their own judgment instead of the Queen Mind's direct guidance. Their perfect coordination faltered. They hesitated, made mistakes. Confirmed kill, Santos said. They're confused. Take the next coordinator. Left flank. Jensen was already adjusting his aim. In orbit, Queen Mind Tessera reeled from the disruption. She'd lost 2 field coordinators in 30 seconds. The neural network was compensating, but there was lag now. Precious milliseconds of delay that the collective had never experienced. They're targeting our command structure, she realized. They understand our weakness, but how? The Zenthari had never fought humans before. Yet somehow these soldiers had immediately identified and exploited the one vulnerability in the collective system. On the ground, the battle became chaos. The 300 Marines didn't try to hold territory. They attacked and retreated constantly. They appeared just long enough to shoot before vanishing. They destroyed equipment, collapsed buildings, set fires that created smoke screens. But it was Blake's special operations team that truly shattered the Zenthari's confidence. Corporal Turner led a 3-person team through the colony's underground water pipes. They emerged inside the Zenthari's secured perimeter, but they didn't attack the soldiers. Instead, they sabotaged the supply depot. Food synthesizers were destroyed. Water purification equipment was smashed. Supplies destroyed, Turner reported over the radio. They'll start feeling logistics pressure in 6 hours. Good, Blake replied from his position. Make them think about staying power instead of tactics. Sergeant Santos and her demolition team had moved to a new location. This time they were targeting Zenthari communication arrays, the devices that extended the Queen Mind's neural network range. Each array destroyed forced the collective to route commands through fewer channels. More delay, more disruption. Communications array down, Santos reported after setting her charges. That's 3 destroyed. They're running out of bandwidth. The Zenthari sent drones to sweep for snipers. They found nothing. The humans had already moved. They left behind crude decoys made from heating elements and old clothes. When Zenthari troops advanced to investigate, they triggered ambushes. Marines with anti-armor weapons fired from concealed positions, destroyed vehicles, then vanished into the agricultural landscape. Queen Mind Tessera watched the battle unfold through 5,000 pairs of eyes. Every tactical decision she made was countered. Every advance was ambushed. Every secure position was sabotaged. The humans weren't fighting to win territory. They were fighting to make victory too expensive to pursue. After 6 hours of combat, Tessara had lost 800 warriors. Not to superior numbers or technology, but to an enemy that refused to fight fairly. They used the terrain, the colony's infrastructure, even the crops themselves as cover and weapons. "Pull back to the landing zone," she commanded. "We're withdrawing." But Blake had anticipated that too. The Zenthari retreat found the landing zone covered with mines. Not sophisticated military mines, simple pressure-activated explosives made from farming equipment. Their ships had been sabotaged by humans who'd somehow infiltrated the perimeter without being detected. "How?" Tessera demanded through her translator. She broadcast on open channels. "How did you penetrate our defenses? The collective sees everything, shares all information. There should be no gaps." Blake's voice came over the comm channel. "Because you think like a collective, you assume everyone shares information instantly. You scan for communication signals and watch for coordinated movement." "And humans don't coordinate?" Tessara asked. "We can," Blake replied. "But we learn to fight without it. My teams communicate with hand signals. We move independently without needing constant coordination. We mask our heat signatures with mud and local materials. We're not better than you. We're just different. And you've never had to fight an enemy that doesn't think collectively." From her flagship in orbit, Tessera analyzed the battle data. The human was right. The collective's strength was perfect coordination and shared consciousness. But that was also its weakness. Disrupt the network and efficiency collapsed. Target the coordinators and warriors became disoriented. "You've made your point," Tessera broadcast. "We will withdraw. But this is not a surrender." "It doesn't have to be," Blake said. "It can be a lesson. The Zenthari collective is powerful, but you've only fought species that think hierarchically or individually. Humans do both. We can work as a team when we need to. But every soldier is trained to fight alone if necessary. It's inefficient. It requires massive training investment. It creates command problems. But it works against enemies like you." "Why tell me this?" Tessara asked. "Why reveal your methods?" "Because I'd rather have you as neighbors who understand us than enemies who underestimate us," Blake replied. "We're not asking you to join us or submit to us. We're asking you to recognize that human space is defended by people who will do absolutely anything to protect it. Is testing our colonies worth losing 800 warriors? Is probing us worth the resources you've spent?" Tessara processed the question through her vast neural network. 1,000 tactical coordinators weighed in simultaneously. The conclusion was unanimous. "No," she finally answered. "It is not. The Zenthari collective will not pursue military operations in human space." "Good," Blake said. "But there's something else you should understand." "What?" "Every tactic we use today was developed by humans fighting other humans. The guerrilla warfare, the sabotage, the attacks on command structure. We learned all of it in conflicts on Earth, in jungles and deserts and mountains where the enemy knew the terrain and fought with complete dedication. We didn't invent anything new to fight you. We just used lessons learned from centuries of war against ourselves." Through her network, Tessara felt a chill. These humans had spent their entire history perfecting the art of war. Not against alien species, against each other. Every tactic was designed to defeat an enemy that thought like them, adapted like them, fought like them. When they fought aliens, it was almost disappointingly easy. The Zenthari withdrawal was orderly. Tessara took her remaining forces and left New Canaan intact. But across her neural network, a new understanding spread. Humans were dangerous, not because of strength or technology, but because their entire development had been shaped by fighting each other. Back on New Canaan, the Marines began cleanup operations. Blake's team gathered in the command center. They were tired. Some were wounded. But they'd held the line. "We lost 12 Marines," Lieutenant Harris reported. His voice was heavy. "The Zenthari lost 800 warriors. That's a 67-to-1 kill ratio." 6 months after the Battle of New Canaan, Admiral Lisa Hayes stood in the Galactic Council chambers for the first time as a full member. The room was enormous, with seats arranged in a circle. Representatives from dozens of species filled the space. Some looked human. Some looked like insects. Others were so alien that Hayes needed help understanding how they even perceived reality. The council speaker, a tall being with multiple arms and a translator device, gestured for attention. The human delegate may speak. Hayes stood. She wore her dress uniform with all her medals. She wanted the galaxy to see humanity not as newcomers, but as people who'd earned their place. Every eye in the chamber turned toward her. "Thank you, Council Speaker," Hayes began. "I'm here to address concerns about human military doctrine and our recent conflicts." Murmurs rippled through the assembled representatives. The battles at New Dakota, Rigel 7, the Praxian Station, and New Canaan were famous now, or infamous depending on who you asked. "Humanity has no desire for conquest," Hayes continued. "We don't want to dominate the galaxy, but we will defend our people with every tool we have. Some species have said we fight without honor, that we use deception and unfair tactics. They're right. We do." The murmurs grew louder. Some representatives looked shocked. Others nodded in understanding. "We fight this way because we learned warfare by fighting ourselves," Hayes explained. Her voice was calm but firm. "For thousands of years before we reached the stars, humans fought other humans. We developed our tactics to defeat enemies who were as smart, as creative, and as desperate as we were. When we fight alien species, we're using methods designed to beat the most dangerous opponent we know. Ourselves." She paused to let that sink in. "The mercenary guilds have blacklisted human military contracts. The Sargonian horde has declared us worthy of respect. The Praxian war temples won't accept missions against our bases. The Zinthari collective has agreed not to probe our territory. Not because we threatened them, but because we showed them what war with humanity costs." A Krillian representative stood up. Hayes recognized him as Vexthor, the mercenary commander from New Dakota. His face still bore scars from that battle. "And what is that cost?" Vexthor asked. His voice was respectful now, not angry. "Everything," Hayes replied simply. "Humans will sacrifice anything to protect our own. We'll use honor when it works. We'll abandon honor when survival demands it. We'll fight with advanced technology or sharp rocks. We'll use brilliant tactics or overwhelming force. We give no quarter or show great mercy. Whatever wins, we'll do." She looked around the chamber at all the different faces, scales, and crystalline features. "We're not asking for special treatment. We're not demanding territory or tribute. We're simply making it clear that human space is protected by people who've spent their entire history learning to survive against impossible odds. We're a species of survivors, and we're very, very good at it." Another representative stood. This one was from a species Hayes didn't recognize. Tall and thin with skin that shimmered like oil on water. "Do humans seek allies? Or do you prefer isolation?" Hayes smiled. "We would love allies. War Chief Thraka can tell you that humans are loyal friends once you've earned our trust. Highblade Ixtal can confirm we honor our agreements even when it's difficult. Queen Mind Tessara knows we'll tell you the truth even when it reveals our weaknesses." "Then what do humans want?" the representative pressed. "The same things everyone wants," Hayes said. "Peace, prosperity, the chance to explore the galaxy and meet new species. But we want it on terms where we're respected, not exploited. Where our territory is recognized, not tested. Where other species understand that attacking humanity costs more than it's worth." "You rule through fear," someone muttered from the back. "Through reputation," Hayes corrected firmly. "There's a difference. Fear makes enemies who wait for you to show weakness. Reputation makes competitors who decide to find easier targets. We prefer that mercenaries and warrior cultures choose not to fight us because they know it's too expensive, not because they're terrified." She gathered her notes. "Humanity is still new to the galaxy. We're young and we make mistakes, but we learn quickly, and we remember everything. Those who work with us will find we're reliable partners. Those who test us will discover why alien mercenaries refuse to face human special forces." The chamber fell silent as Hayes sat down. The council speaker looked around the room. "Are there further comments?" War Chief Thraka rose from his seat. The massive Sargonian looked even more impressive in the council chambers. His red skin and filed tusks made him seem like a demon from human mythology. "I wish to speak," Thraka rumbled. "The Sargonian representative may speak," the council speaker said. Thraka's voice filled the chamber. "I fought humans on Rigel 7. I brought 150 of my finest warriors. We were defeated by 12 human soldiers, not through greater strength, not through superior numbers, through cunning and mercy mixed together." He looked directly at Hayes. "The humans showed us they could have killed us all. But they chose not to. They fought to win, yes, but they also fought to teach us. That is the mark of a species worth knowing. Thraka's words carried weight. The Sargonian horde was feared across 3 sectors. If their war chief spoke well of humans, others would listen. Highblade Ixtal stood next. His crystalline body reflected the council chamber's lights. The Praxian war temples challenged humanity to blade combat. We believed our 10,000 years of technique would guarantee victory. We were wrong. He touched the scars on his arm from where Blake had defeated him. Humans taught us that perfection in form means nothing without adaptability. They fight to survive, not to demonstrate skill. This makes them unpredictable and dangerous. But also honest. They told us exactly what they would do, then did it. I respect that. More representatives began to speak. Some shared stories of human traders who'd been fair. Others talked about human diplomats who'd been straightforward in negotiations. A few mentioned human scientists who'd shared discoveries freely. A pattern emerged. Humans were dangerous in war but reasonable in peace. They kept their word. They treated allies well. They were exactly what they appeared to be, with no hidden agendas or secret plans. For many species in the galaxy, that honesty was unusual and valuable. After the council session ended, Hayes met privately with several representatives. Trade agreements were discussed. Cultural exchange programs were proposed. Scientific collaborations were suggested. But the most important meeting was with Vexthor. The Krillian mercenary commander sat across from Hayes in a private room. His scales were darker now, marked by age and battle scars. I cost my guild a lot of money, Vexthor said without preamble. Blacklisting human military contracts meant refusing lucrative jobs. Some of the younger mercenaries blamed me, called me a coward. Are you? Hayes asked. Vexthor's mandibles clicked in what might have been a laugh. No, I'm a survivor. Like you humans, I recognize that some prey is too dangerous to hunt, that some contracts cost more than the payment is worth. And now? Hayes asked. Now other guilds have learned the same lesson, Vexthor replied. Human military installations remain untouched. But more importantly, we're getting contract requests from human corporations and colonies. Protection details, security consulting, training programs. Hayes understood. You want to work with us, not against us. Exactly, Vexthor confirmed. My guild has started accepting contracts to protect human interests. The pay is good. The terms are fair, and we don't have to worry about being killed by invisible soldiers. I can arrange official channels for that, Hayes said. Human corporations need security in the outer colonies. Having experienced mercenaries who understand our methods would be valuable. They shook hands in the human style. Vexthor had learned the gesture after New Dakota. It represented trust between former enemies. Back on Earth, Captain Blake stood in front of a classroom full of young soldiers. They were the newest recruits to special operations training. Each one had volunteered, knowing the training would be brutal and many would fail. You've all heard the stories, Blake began. New Dakota. Rigel 7, New Canaan. You probably think those battles made us legends. Heroes, unstoppable warriors. The recruits nodded eagerly. You're wrong, Blake said flatly. We're not legends. We're not heroes. We're soldiers who learned to use every advantage available. We won because we were willing to do things our enemies wouldn't. We hid when honor demanded we fight openly. We targeted weak points when others expected direct confrontation. We adapted when tradition said stick to the plan. He walked between the rows of recruits. The galaxy thinks we're dangerous because we fight dirty. They're right. But they don't understand why we fight dirty. It's not because we lack honor or courage. It's because we learned warfare against the only enemy smart enough to force us to evolve constantly. Ourselves. Blake pulled up a holographic display showing human military history. Wars spanning thousands of years. From ancient battles with swords and spears to modern conflicts with drones and satellites. Every weapon here was designed to kill humans. Every tactic was developed to defeat human enemies. Every piece of technology was created because humans needed an edge against other humans. When